What if your childhood pain wasn't just emotional, but spiritual? What if the battles you're facing aren't all in your mind, but rooted in a curse passed down for generations? Nicole Elaine Avery grew up in a storm of dysfunction, spiritual warfare, and family secrets. Things no one talks about, especially in church. In this episode, she reveals how cultural beliefs in witchcraft shaped her family, the chilling concept of evil loads, and how faith helped her survive it all. If you ever felt like something invisible was holding you back, this episode could unlock everything.
A lot of people can identify having childhood dysfunction, but how many people can identify with it being witchcraft? We are joined by Nicole Elaine Avery. So, Nicole, I really want to go ahead and welcome you to our community. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Like
Yes.
I had never heard of this. So I am so intrigued.
Okay. And I'm ready. I am.
All right. So when did this start?
So I have to be honest, I did not really realize what was transpiring in my past as, a young person until a few years ago. I was living with a relative and I just noticed some weird things were transpiring. So in those happenings, I decided to just sit with it and say, wait a minute, why does this feel familiar? So I started to look into my own past and say, oh my God, this makes sense now. So as a child, I was in and out of my mom's house. I don't really want to say what the condition was just yet, but there were instances where we would be at the New York Foundling, me and my two sisters, in New York Foundling Hospital or in other homes because my mom couldn't take care of us, right? But there were certain things that was going on with her that I just couldn't understand why. And so my grandmother would come over from time to time and visit. And after her departure, my mom would say, go wash your face, go wash your hands. And so I was like, when she leaves, after we hugged her and things like that. And so I was just like, well, why would she say that? But now it makes sense. My grandmother was using witchcraft or doing witchcraft on my mom to try to make her crazy.
Mm.
And so I'll give you a little more of a backstory. My family is from Jamaica, West Indies. My two sisters and I were born in America, but all of my other family members are from Jamaica. And so you think about Jamaica, you basically think about Africa because that's just one step away, right? And so a lot of people are inclined to practicing witchcraft. And so my mom, I was told, was the product of a rape. And it was by, I believe, an Irish man. So she was extremely, extremely light and she considered herself white. Now, in Jamaica during that time, according to her story, she wasn't really welcome because she was so much lighter. So it's the reverse in America. It has been, with the darker skin, people have ostracized and done all sorts of things. And people are still going through stuff now, but thank God we've come a long way. So this was the opposite. And so most of my family members are really, really dark. And my mother and her sister didn't get along, and partly because of that. They have two different fathers and of the skin difference. And so my mom came to America looking for a better life. She got deported, went to Mexico, came back to America, and started on her own. So in doing so, I don't know what really transpired with her family members, but I do know that she ended up in psychiatric wards. and in different places. And I just never knew as a young person. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me slow down. At 9 years old, I was permanently removed from her home, my sisters and myself. And so as I grew up, I I don't want to say I grew apart from my mom, but because I didn't understand what was going on, I felt shame, you know? And so I just couldn't understand why this was happening to her. So again, we'll come back to present day or close to present day when I was staying with the relative. My sister was undergoing some issues. I'm not really going to get into everything just yet. And so she was very, very sick, but then she wasn't. It was like on again, off again. And so again, I'm looking at things that are happening around me. And I know it sounds like I'm not giving you everything yet, but it's going to make sense in a minute. Right. So I went to visit her with my other sister. I went to visit Michelle, my middle sister, for her birthday because my middle sister and my eldest sister, they all lived in New Jersey. So we went to go visit her. And I noticed that there were certain things about her, the makeup of herself, right? Her body. Her shoulders were slumped, which is something that was abnormal for her because she's a dancer. She's just full of life and things like that. And so I started to look at her and said, something is wrong. So, with my own personal journey with Christ and trying to figure out what's happening in my own life, I came upon a few things that made sense. So, there's this thing that's called evil loads. So, when a spiritual agent, a satanic agent, wants to deter someone from living their divine destiny, one of the things that they do is they take spiritually an evil load and they place it on the person in the spirit realm. And so whatever happens in the spirit realm transpires to the physical realm. So what my sister didn't know is that she literally was carrying evil loads. That's why her body was slumped that way. Okay. So seeing the physical aspect of her, also, I'm going in different places, but I hope that it makes sense. So there was a time that I went to go visit another relative, and they always cook for me and they give me different things or whatever. And so I had eaten something and it made me feel out of sorts. And so I was like, something's not right. And I noticed that this family member stopped to look at me as if to see if it was working, was the spell or whatever they cast, whatever they did, was it working? So my mind works like that. When I see something in the present, my mind goes back to an instant where there's a connection. And so when I looked at my sister on the day of her birthday, I looked at her body, like I said, the contour and everything. But then there was also a part of that night where she felt out of sorts. And I said, I don't know if it was anything to do with food, but I knew that it was related to this heavy load. And so I just started doing the investigation, right? And so several weeks had passed by after this. And I remember my eldest sister saying, oh, the Avery sisters together, for the last time or something similar to that. And I thought that was kind of weird. But I was like, okay, whatever, it just kind of went over my head. And so several weeks after that, my middle sister passed away. But she didn't just pass away like an older person who, had a heart attack and was, whatever, right? She had a dog named Misty, pit bull. They both were found dead at the same time. Now, on top of that, her body was decomposing along with the dog's body was decomposing. So she was there for a while and it was a warmer time of year. So it probably happened even quicker, right? So what that said to me was someone, whoever it was, which I know who it is, didn't want her to be found in a pure state. Because had she been found in a pure state and her body, the autopsy would have been done on the body, we would have found out what happened. Make sense?
Yes.
Right. Well, do I have like legal hard evidence? No, but the spirit realm is telling me who it is and how it happened. So I know that you asked me one simple question, but it's so, I want to say, layered and convoluted. And it started with, from what I know, my grandmother doing it to my mom and her sister not getting along, and then it trickling down to the other generations without putting anyone's name in it. Yeah.
Generational curse.
Generational curses, generational witchcraft, because it's like you're passing down the craft to someone else, right? Because I look at a generational curse towards someone who is Christ centered. The craft is for someone who has chosen Satan as their Lord. Now, are they accursed? They don't even realize, yes, they are. But to them, it's more about, no, we have to continue this in our bloodline. So I look at it a little differently.
So did they ever do an autopsy on her, or it was too far gone?
It was inconclusive because the decomposing of the body.
I wonder if they were
Yes.
poisoned for it to be her and the dog laying right next to each other. Like it's sound
She was sacrificed. So it was a very painful death because we know what sacrifices are like. And I believe the dog was sacrificed as well. Can't believe I said that without tears or anything else. I'm doing well tonight.
yeah.
But it needs to be told. Like, I'm writing a book, finishing it up, but this was the moment for me to take a stand. And I'm not a star as of yet, unless God says, he's got something for me. But there are regular, everyday people who love God, who are under such duress because we're chosen by God. And people hate us because we love God, because God has placed certain things in us. And it's time for us to take a stand and talk about these things that are happening to us. My sister didn't have to die. But now, if you think about it, she's out of the way. So who do I have to call on if the remainder of my family is after me?
What about your other sister?
It will not speak on her.
Gotcha. Are you gonna call your family members out, or are you just gonna try to stay as far away as possible?
I want to say if I call anyone, it would be ICE. And we'll leave that alone. I could
Interesting.
easily say names, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let God handle that. But if I did make a call, it would be to ICE. And hopefully they hear this recording so they'll know.
Well, I just
It's
hope
really,
nothing else happens.
no, well, you know what? They've tried. I've had multiple situations where I was sleeping and the person who was trying to fight me in the spirit realm tried to take the breath away from me, but God allowed me to wake up. I have been choked in my sleep. Person was over me and literally choked, and I had to fight my way out of that. I want to go back a little bit before moving to Jersey. My reason for moving to Jersey was because I relocated from New York to LA, and that was where the true gang stalking and harassing and witchcraft, I'll just say, truly started. So I was working at LAUSD, and that is Los Angeles Unified School District. I had a fall and I was on workers' comp. And I don't know if you know that if you're on workers' comp, a lot of times you will be followed by different people, right? To ensure that you're not doing anything illegal, you're not working or lifting things or whatever, right? And so I lived on private property, and my neighbors were allowing these individuals who wanted to come watch me and monitor me into their homes. And so again, here we go with the spirit realm just letting me know what's happening, And plus I'm an artist. So, you start to look at tiny details and like someone's been in your house or whatever. Right? So long story short, I come from the deposition and they were talking about, oh, are you doing like some gardening or whatever in your backyard? I'm like, first of all, I don't even have a backyard. I have a space because where I live was a manufactured home. So it's a space that they give you that you pay for. So I don't have a backyard. But since y'all want to be funny, I went to go sit on the ledge after this deposition and I started picking stuff, but I was sitting down picking. All of a sudden, a woman of the, she jumps out of the house into a bush. I can see her sneakers at the base of the bush. I'm like, go back to school and work on that. But anyway, she pulls out a camera and I stand up and she sees that I see her and she takes off running. And I started to chase her, but I was like, no, if someone else is going to film that or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's when I knew that they were monitoring me. The U.S. Postal Service man never gets out of the truck. All of a sudden, when he comes to my space, he gets out the truck and he goes to the neighbor across the street. He's acting like he's looking at these letters, but you could tell someone else is looking. Like I was a teacher for like 30 years, 25 years. I know what's going on. You know what I mean? And you're holding these letters towards the window so you could see. So that's where all of that stuff started happening, where I knew that my neighbors weren't involved in monitoring me. So I had two neighbors who were elderly, I'll say, or older, and they ended up moving out. They always looked out for me. They always looked out for me. So it was only like the woman across the street and the neighbor next to her that were kind of iffy. The other few neighbors, really kind, nice people. So after they moved out, a witch moved in right next door to me. And I didn't know my neighbor across from me was a witch. So when I say I was under spiritual warfare every day, like literally fighting people in my sleep, or, when people astral project, you're fighting that, and the physical biting people. It was ridiculous. It was insane. And this is the first time I'm even talking about. I've told friends, but not even to this magnitude, like some of the stuff that was transpiring. And so that's where it started, right? I would go places, would feel electrical currents in my house. So, they have the smart meters. I didn't know at the time what they were doing, but it was between the witchcraft dust that they were using and putting it in the corners and underneath the baseboards and then the smart meter. It was insane. I lost so much hair. This is why I wear my little thing now. And I actually called my eldest sister and she came to stay with me for a little while, but I can't get into too much right now. I just need a couple of people to die and then I can kind of talk about some things. But yeah, I'll just say that's where it started. And so fast forward to New Jersey. So I was always on defense, trying to figure out what was going on. And like I said, relatives feeding me different things. And, thank God, for the research brain, because before I left LA, I was working on my doctorate. And then I came to New York and finished it at Columbia University. So my spiritual eyes are always open, but my academic senses are always just chiming. And so I had to start looking up different things about witchcraft and, or just looking at my situations and finding out like symptoms or whatever, and what's causing it, causations and things like that. And so as I did, I started to notice things around me. So like when I moved to my eldest sister's house the first time, I was in her space, not renting from her. The second time I was renting from her downstairs after her tenant mysteriously died. She had cancer, but it was still kind of like, yeah. So I'll just throw that out there. So I noticed that I would be very lethargic all the time. I couldn't study, I couldn't read, I couldn't stay awake. And I found her being very mean spirited, like, oh my God, I went to work and came back and you're still sleeping. And I'm saying to myself, what does that matter to you anyway? I'm working on my doctorate and you don't know how much work I've done. You don't know how long I've been sleeping. So do you get what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
why is it a big deal to you? I could have been sleeping for 30 minutes. That just came to me right now. So
Right.
I'll leave that. Yeah, I'll leave that there. It's just a lot of weird happenings, and so her girlfriend lived with her. And it was just things like period blood being left in the toilet, knowing that I was coming to use it as if someone was marking their territory. That's what I felt. Could it be more? I don't know. But I was like, this is weird and I'm getting out of here. So I did. And I moved into my own space for a while. I was harassed so badly. It was insane. And that's what's been happening for the last several years, almost 10 years.
A long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. And other things it's been longer, but for my awareness of the witchcraft attacks. Yeah. And there's more, but I'm not going to get into all details, but I just wanted to give you a roundabout of what transpired. Yeah.
So when somebody's under this kind of attack, what are you supposed to do?
Well, you know what? That's such a great question. I reached out to the church. That's like the first place you go, right? Like if you're sick, they said, come to the church. Well, I found that several ministers were unskilled and they didn't know how to say I don't know what to do, right? Some were afraid and they didn't know, didn't want to lay hands on me to pray or any. Then finally I started finding people, because now so many people are starting to come into some of the situations that I have endured. And so I found ministers who were African. And I told God, I was like, I'm going to the source. My folks was here first. So I know they know what's going on. So I started finding African ministers, and some of them were really great. But here's the thing, because they knew that they held the key, it was very costly. And, although we shouldn't be praying for prayer, there's this thing where you bless the man of God or the woman of God. And I have no problem with that. But it got to a point where I'm like, okay, I don't have a job, but I'm giving you my reserve. And I'm not totally free or healed from some of these attacks. You know what I mean? And so here I am again, still just trying to find someone who I can talk to. And if I can give you something, fine. If not, we'll wait until I'm able to like have a full-time job or whatever it is God is going to bless me with so I can bless you. But the American Black church, American white church, it doesn't really matter because I've been to so many churches. And I remember, I'll tell you a story. I was living in Jersey in the apartment that I told you that I went into following my escape from my sister's house the first time. And there was a church right across the street, basically, from where I was staying. And I told the minister, I said, listen, I just need you to come over and pray over my house because I don't know what's going on. Like, I'll tell you, I was walking around my house and the spirit allowed me to see, like, how like people patch up walls? I started seeing like new paint patches and I started scratching it off and I saw witchcraft dust like over the staircase where you come in. And so I said, this is part of the problem. But here we go, right? Let's talk about it. You have maintenance workers. And I talk about this in my book about Halloween. If someone has the key to your house, to your apartment, then they could come in anytime when you're not there. And if people are monitoring you, they see exactly when you're not going to be there. And if you have a routine, that's even worse. And so I believe the maintenance worker was coming in or whoever, because again, it's an apartment, it's not a house. And even if it was a house, how many people go online and learn how to key in to someone's house? Oh, this is 2025. Even though this transpired a few years ago, we know how people are. Let's be
Yeah.
real. And look at some of the houses. This is New Jersey now. This is not New York. This is not the Bronx where you have gated doors, right? Because you already know somebody may try to kick it in. You only have one lock in Jersey. And so if you are a PI, right? You already know how to get in. Oh, let's keep it fair and 100. right? And so you have these people that are entering and they're putting things in the corner of your house and all these other things, and so you're unaware of it because you're just happy go lucky, like, oh, I've got this beautiful place, da, da, da. And then all of a sudden you're either having headaches, your hair is falling out, you're wondering why you're so slothful and all sorts of things. But that's what was happening. And I said, I went to the minister, right? Who do I go to? The church. So here we go. You asked 1,000 questions, right? Now, where's your discernment? You can look at me and see I'm not doing witchcraft, but something is wrong, something is happening. So, okay, I'll give you that much. You're going to ask me, are you doing witchcraft? No, I'm not. Are you ready to come over and pray over my house? Well, hold on. Like, are you in a relationship? Are you having sex or whatever? Listen, did I ask you that? I don't know what you're doing. Do you get what I'm saying? You're
Yeah.
coming to pray. So if I can trust you, then trust and believe I'm coming to you because I need you, not because I'm dibbling and I'm dabbling. So that was the hurtful thing. That happened to me in LA. Oh my gosh. I had one minister say to me, well, the church is broke. I said, okay, well, what that got to do with me? So instead of just saying, if you give me a donation, then I'll come over and I'll pray over your house. So I could tell you, no, thank you, but okay. I'm not playing games. Then it was another woman. She wanted to interview me prior to coming to the house. And she just kept playing phone tag. I was like, you're not serious. You're not serious. But if I ask you to come to your church to speak or praise dance or whatever, you'd be all excited. And this is the problem I have with the American Black church. Y'all are preaching at people. Y'all are talking all this mess. Not everyone, because I can't, make a blanketed statement. But during my time of duress, nobody could help me. Y'all got me filling out forms and all this other stuff, but I'm not asking you these things. I need to give you a form. And that happened to me with another deliverance minister. He happened to be African, very, very great deliverance guy. But I said to him, I'm not filling out all of this stuff because if I didn't have you do it, then I'm not doing it either. And he understood. He understood. And so with this gentleman in New Jersey, he kept asking me all these questions, blah, blah, blah. So finally I was like, are you coming inside? Because this was actually when he was at my house. I didn't even mention that part. I was so, so grateful to finally get him to the house. And I'm like, oh my God, you're asking me all these questions. Can you just come inside? And he had this female minister with him. And I was like, okay, great. I don't care who you bring. Bring your wife, bring the kids. I don't care. Because I don't want you. I just want you to pray. And that's the next thing, right? So, and again, I don't know what gifts this individual has. And we have to look at that too. Is he prophetic? No. Does he have discernment? Is the devil telling him something that's making him afraid? Because that could be happening too. Anyway, he finally comes inside. He's praying and he's still asking me questions. And I'm just like, oh my God, sir, could you just pray? So finally he prays. We go upstairs. He sees that I have a dance studio. He sees all this artwork. He sees my voiceover studio. He sees the books lined up for my dissertation. He sees everything, all the gifts that God has given me just in one room. And he's like, I get it. And I'm like, really, do you? He's like, you want me to pray for up here? I was like, just go ahead and pray. It took you to come up here and see that for you to finally believe in me. So it's just hurtful over and over and over again because these are the leaders of the church. Then to have prophetic people, you can give them tithes every week. And then you go for prayer and they won't lay a hand on you. Do you know what that feels like? It's like being married to someone and they never touch you. And although I've never been married, I've dated. And I know what it is for someone to be standoffish. But imagine living with someone, they never want to touch you. That's what it feels like. Being a person under duress, under witchcraft attacks, and no one wants to deal with you. No one wants to touch you. But I'll tell you this story. I went to Atlanta for a while after having to leave my sister's house under duress. This was the second time I was in Jersey. I left under duress. That is all I will say. I left under duress. And I went to Atlanta because I had friends, family, and close friends. I now have one friend in Atlanta, no family, and no friend. Well, I can't say no friends, but according to this particular individual, because I don't want to do that to some other folks on the periphery. But the nucleus is gone. I stayed with individuals. I had dreams, which they didn't know about. I saw that these individuals were being inducted into satanic covens against me. I saw the change in their behavior, never said anything to them. And I quickly left. I stayed with one individual who anointed her windows. That was the only place I was safe. And I can say that my goddaughter and her mom, we were line sisters in college, but I denounced my sorority because I knew that that was also a connection to the witchcraft attacks, because I knew that that was a door for Satan to come in. And I was like, no more. So we're still sisters in Christ, but we're just not sorority sisters. And so that was the only place that I could stay. There was a point to what I was saying. Oh my God, remind me what we were saying so I can tell you. I'm sorry.
You went back to LA? You left Jersey again. You left your sister's house.
In Jersey to come to Atlanta.
Right.
Oh, so thank you. So I left my sister's house under duress, and I came to Atlanta thinking that I had found peace and solace. I did not. It wasn't until I got to my friend's house that I did, in my goddaughter's house. And so I got a call saying that, there was an apartment in New York. My friend was telling me maybe it's too early to leave. I was like, no, you know how you just don't want to overstay. You're welcome. She opened her doors, and I just it was a couple of months. I wanted to kind of be on my own. So I get back to New York. I beautify this apartment to no end. It went from rodents to nothing. It was deep. So I did not realize that the person living above me was a witch. I was fighting every night. There were I don't know if you've ever heard of somebody hearing shots in their dreams. Well, honey, it was like a brigade of shots. It was crazy. It was so insane, the amount of witchcraft attacks I was under. I looked in the mirror, someone poked me in my eye. So I threw out the mirror. There was witchcraft writing on the back of the mirror that I didn't even know until I got ready to get rid of it. So there was a lot happening in this house. And so back to the Atlanta, I'm here. I decided to do research and look for a minister, just so I could just get some solace, some rest, some reprieve. And I found a minister by the name of, this is the only person I'll say the name, because Dr. Sunny Badu, he was the first minister since all of this transpired to lay hands on me. And I was so grateful. I saw him online, and I was like, oh my God, he's in Atlanta. I literally jumped in the car the next 2 days, drove back to Atlanta, went to service. He prophesied to me, and he told me that there were 3 family members trying to kill me. And he told me how, and I knew what he was saying was right, because the way he was talking about the situation, he spilled it out so clearly. And so I knew that was my confirmation that my family members were trying to kill me. And so I stayed for the weekend, and I came back. I was back in New York under attack, and I just had to leave. But I brought him up because he prayed for me, and things that were going on with my eyes, because I'm prophetic, disappeared immediately. He started a church in New York, but some things transpired where I wasn't able to continue to go. And so now I just kind of try to every now and again listen to him online or whatever. But that was the only person, other than the one, two other African ministers. This guy and Dr. Badu, he's also African by way of London and now Atlanta. And so these other 2 African ministers had also helped, but they were in Africa praying for me, and they weren't here. So it was nice to be in person with someone who could see, and he's a seer, And so again, that was how I got help. So I would tell anyone, find an African minister, literally, who definitely is a man or woman of God. Seek God for discernment and guidance in that. But I would say, yes, that's going to be the person who's going to be able to help you. Now, there are other people, like I'm sure God is training me to do certain things. But if someone were to ask me, what would I do? That's exactly what I did.
Took you a long time to find one, but hopefully, yeah, there's more
Oh,
people out there willing to do so.
yeah. Well, that's the thing, it's like being able to put the piece to the puzzle and knowing that this person was sent as a destiny helper to you because everybody's not meant for you or meant to help you. You know what I mean? And so it's like dating. We go through all these people, but we're really supposed to sit back. Hey, God, should I talk to this person? And actually listen when God says no, because he'll go, no. We go like, oh, okay, but he's cute. And we start talking to him, right? So we have to listen. We have to be able to say, okay, God, I hear you. I know it's difficult. It's like fasting. I only got an hour left. Okay, I know I can eat this apple, but I'm just going to put it to the side and then, do the right thing. Yeah.
Very interesting. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for your journey. It sounds exhausting.
It is. It still is. I'm going through some things right now. I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm still seeking the help that I need to abate the attacks altogether so that I am a fortified individual. And, I know God is keeping me alive and I'm chosen in that regard. So that's what's frustrating the demonic realm because they know they can't kill me. Thank you, Lord. But the harassment has been a bit much, but I'm still standing. I've had to walk away from a few friendships because in the beginning I was trying to keep people safe because you just don't want people to be attacked because they're a part of your crew. But some people I've found that they were more a part of the problem than anything else. You have some people who are secretly competing with you, secretly happy for your temporary situation, right? Your downfalls or, your ebbs and flows, more valleys than anything else. You know what I mean? And so God told me that, it was time to step away. And so I think that's important too, that we have to realize that sometimes even being alone is better. I don't speak to any of my family members, not one, not one. And judgment will fall. Judgment will fall upon them. I don't hate them because I want to go to heaven. But I do believe strongly in judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be talking to them either. That way, they don't know where you are. But I guess if it's spirit, they follow
Well,
you
with
out.
monitoring spirits, people do try to find a way, and you have to keep praying. That's where the exhaustion comes in because every night you're just battling spiritual warfare. I was grateful the other night I was able to just stop and really be in praise because I forgot like that is a weapon too. And this way, you're also giving God what he deserves. And like that, the altar from the earth is coming up and he's seeing that, right? And so just like we get life when we see people clapping for us or whatever, God gets life. I'm just going to use that in quotes. When he sees people praising because we were created to do so, you know? So yeah, there's a counteraction for every action. And so, yes, they have the cauldrons. They're summoning your names, and you have to dismantle. And you have to bring the fire of the Holy Ghost. They try to steal things to put on an altar, and you have to dismantle all of that. So there's this back and forth. So there's a counter action for every action, and there's the word of God, and you have to just take a stand on it.
Isn't
Yeah.
that like you put salt on your doorstep or something and it keeps the evil
I've
spirits
heard of
out?
that too. I've heard of that too. And I think within reason, if God is telling you to do that, then yes, I'm not going to do something and it become witchcraft either. So you have to be cautious. Like my friends were telling me, oh, get these jewels or whatever. I'm like, no, One person was like, well, go to the Botanica and just ask. Ask who? Satan? I'm not going there. You're adding fuel to the fire, right? Because in the beginning, everybody's friending you up. And then in a minute, you're like, what is going on? Why am I feeling this? And da 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 da. You know? Oh man, I can tell you some stories. Feeling people attacking you is like none other, but not seeing them. Oh, I wanted to say this. I remember being at my sister's house in Jersey, and I was parking the car. I came up to the door, and literally saw this black cat coming through, exiting the door as the door was shut. So physically seeing it come out of the door, and it just trotted to where it needed to be. I've seen spirits as large as high, I want to say, as maybe a 6-story building that emanated by a certain person's home. I've sat on their block and I've seen spirits walking to and fro. So I've witnessed quite a bit. I remember I was being harassed in Yonkers, had a beautiful apartment, and it was a maintenance worker. And I can say this because I've already gone to the cops on him and everything, so not a big deal. But we know that the cops sometimes are in on things too, but I digress. So I remember fasting and praying because I would keep my radio on, playing in tongues all day. I would never turn it off because I was like, when I'm tired, I still have to have something going because I can't be talking in tongues in my sleep. So I was fasting for about a couple of days or a week. And I had just gotten an opportunity to show my artwork at a local museum or gallery, excuse me. And so as I was leaving the building, started walking down the block. And it reminded me of the Game of Thrones so much. I don't know if you saw the scene where I forgot who it was that was walking. It was the dead night guy. Can't remember his name. So anyway, the dead guy, he's walking, and then there was someone trying to attack him, a human behind him, and the human stepped on like a twig, and he immediately turned around, the dead guy, and he saw him because he just heard it. It was like a twig, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I was prompted to turn around, and I turned around, and it was the maintenance guy. But he wasn't wearing his blue maintenance overalls. He was in all white. And I said, he's in the spirit realm. And I looked, and I stopped in my tracks because I was like, I'm not scared of any of you because I will fight you and we will all be going down. Okay. So I looked at him, and he looked, and he kept coming. And then he looked like she can see me. And he into, I don't know if it was a building or a lot. And I said, okay. Okay. So this is what we talk about, astral projection. And ever the silver cord be loosed or the golden bowl be broken, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 12, I believe it was, because I had to read that as a child. And I always wanted to know, ever the silver cord be loosed? Well, that's the astral projection cord. And so he was going to follow me into the art studio and try to harass me. I remember one time I went to visit friends after a funeral. I went to Yankee Stadium where I used to work. Well, not Yankee Stadium itself, but the block that we used to hang out at. And I was eating sunflower seeds. And then all of a sudden, I'm not a clumsy person. And all of a sudden, it was like somebody hit my hand and everything flew. And a girl came up to me. She said, are you normally clumsy? And I was like, no. So immediately when she said that, I was like, someone astral projected. So when you were talking about monitoring, that's part of it. And so you have people who are using mirrors, they're using tablets, and that's something else. I will say this. I remember my mom, again, the connections. I remember my mom talking about people watching her from the television set. And so I'm like, well, this is the late 70s. I don't really know that anybody's in that television set. And of course, as a little kid, you don't know what's going on, but you think it's weird. But she understood. And now I'm starting to think that my mother was prophetic, that I got that from her because the same way I told you I stood in front of a mirror and someone poked me in my eye. What did she see in that television that no one else could see? My mother wasn't crazy. They tried to drive her crazy. And I believe that the person who killed my sister, Michelle, was the same person who killed my mother. It was under the same weird circumstances. My mother lived in a halfway house. She wasn't found for a couple of days or a day or so, which is weird to begin with, but I guess they felt like she was just in her room or whatever. And there was blood all on the wall. So she fought. I remember not wanting to go to view the body, how you have to clean the body, whatever, because I was really young and I was young. I'm not going to say I was 10, but I was young and I just didn't want that last impression, visual impression of my mom. But now in hindsight, I believe that was that person's first kill. That's my opinion. Because, when you're in these covens, you have to sacrifice people. You have to, in some regards, stay alive because you've done so much dirt that now it's your time to go. And here you have to sacrifice someone in order to stay alive. And so now with the clarity, I know that one person did both. And the saddest part is, when you grow up in foster care the way I did, and although I was around many loving individuals throughout the middle, I'll say, of my stint with foster care, you would think that your own blood would be something, that you could cherish when you get older. But I don't care if I ever see them again. I don't care if I talk to them again because I know what they did. Thank you so much. It's time for it to be said, but it's also a release for me because you hold so many things in and you don't know who to talk to. And so to have this platform where there are so many other people who are going through, I mean, I don't know how much I've helped someone. I know I've helped myself release, but to let people know that you're not alone and it's okay. Don't be afraid to speak up. And I feel like if you're already under duress, what the heck?
What do you have to
You
lose?
know? Absolutely nothing. But I love when people think that you are not intelligent, like you don't know what they've done and everything they've done is clandestine or whatever. But the spirit is real and he reveals in so many different ways. I've only given you a few and I haven't even touched the other things that have happened, but wanted to give you enough so that like, yeah, this stuff is real. And whether people believe me or not, I really don't care. I remember when I first was going through it and I was reaching out to lawyers and cops because I was thinking logically. I was thinking in the natural. And they were just like, Nicole, this just sounds so far-fetched. It doesn't sound real. And so the satanic realm, the first thing they want to do is discredit you, make you sound crazy so people won't believe you. But because I don't care, and I've always been, the funny person or someone who will trip and fall and they think nothing of it, life goes on, So I don't really care what people think about me because I'm still going to talk
Well,
and I'm going
good.
to say what I need to say.
Yeah, I'm glad you feel like you got this off your chest and it makes you feel better. That's what it's about. You get to tell your story, and if anyone might be going through something like this, at least now they know that they're not alone. And maybe
Right.
they could go to NicoleElaineAvery.com and reach out,
Yes.
and maybe you guys
Yes.
could pray together or something.
Yes. Absolutely. Now,
Unity.
that's something I definitely do. I've been a prayer warrior since I was probably about 9, 11 years old. So prayer is something, as my former foster mother would say, my Nini, I call her. That's like top shelf for me, so I love to pray. I enjoy it. I love praying for people. I love praying with people. And I actually have a book called Seven Deadly Prayers. I think I have a copy with me. I can show you know, the cover of it. It's a little beat up because I do use it every day. There it is. And you can get it off of, let me hold it for a second. So in case they want to screenshot. There it is. Boom. So you can get it off of Amazon. And yeah, and that is specifically for people who are dealing with witchcraft attacks, So, and again, you'll find a lot of information under African ministers, but not as much under American ministers. There are several staple ministers. There's a few that come to mind, but beyond them, like I remember listening to Dr. Cindy Tripp. She was the first person. She has this warfare prayer. Oh my God, like none other. So that was where I started. And that is what I played on repeat all day when I lived in Yonkers. Oh my God. I'm telling you, I remember laying in bed and I lived near the water. And so I was laying down and the windows were open. And when I tell you this gust of wind came in and it blew, I knew it was a satanic wind and I knew it was spiritual because it was unending, unending. And I just laid there and I pleaded the blood and that was it. Like, are you done? You know? But while I was there, oh my God, there was just so much going on. The spirit just told me not to say it, so I won't. But yeah, maybe that's
Well,
part two.
eh, I hope it gets better. You keep fighting the fight, girl.
Yeah, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. I know the reason why my family is trying to take me out because I know, again, like I said, I'm chosen and God has things for me to do. But see, like there's a signal that just went in my ear all the time. There's a signal that goes in. They can try and make me look crazy, honey, but let me get my earring. I look all right. Hey, how you doing? So, yes, I don't care. Girl, what was I saying? In any case, we just have to keep going. I know I'm chosen. There it is. And, cutting down the life expectancy of people. My sister, Michelle, her life was cut short when she was 53. And I know she was supposed to have a long life. A beautiful, beautiful soul. We argued, we fought. I'm not going to make it sound like every day was roses, but now I know why. Those things were planted, right? Just like you have wives and husbands that fight tooth and nail just all the time. And they truly love each other, but they can't get along. And now I know why, there was the jealousy and the envy and, all of the arguing. I know why. And even before she passed away, I remember Michelle saying something crazy to me. And it was like, we weren't speaking or whatever. And it was horrible that it had to end that way. No, matter of fact, it didn't because she did reach out to me and she apologized. I do remember that. And she was saying that my eldest sister was saying that, she should apologize or whatever. But oh my God. Like I said, I just need some people to die and I can tell you the whole story. Oh, Lord. But yeah, yeah, yeah. All I want to say is watch those who you believe to be closest to you because, and not every single person, there's some beautiful people who are, related to you through marriage or whatever that love you earnestly and purely. But there are some people, man, it's a performance. Every lie is a staged performance that these people are playing. And I'll just say that theater runs through my family. Some of us do stage. I like film. I have done stage. But oh my God, theater runs in my family. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your
Thank you
story.
so much. I appreciate being on. I
Absolutely.
do.